The executive who learned to dance. I just can't handle her anymore, Mr. Stone. His daughter simply doesn't respond. Nathaniel Stone pinched the bridge of his nose as he listened to the words of the fifth nanny in 3 months. The same words, the same tone of defeat, the same failure that pierced his chest like ice needles. What exactly do you mean she doesn't respond? His voice sounded harsher than he intended, but exhaustion outweighed diplomacy. She doesn't talk. She doesn't play. She spends hours looking out the window or holding that. The woman hesitated. That photograph. Nathaniel closed his eyes. He knew exactly what photograph. The last one of the 3 of them together, 2 weeks before Eleanor. I understand. He cut her off, not wanting to go down that road. Send your resignation to Human Resources. Martin will handle the paperwork. Mr. Stone, it's not that I don't care about Mia. It's just that you can't handle her. I understand perfectly. You may go. The click of the closing door echoed in his penthouse office at the Emperador Hotel. Another one who had given up. Another one who didn't understand that Mia didn't need to be managed. She needed... What exactly did she need? Nathaniel looked at the Tokyo contract on his desk. 50 million euros at stake. An expansion that would take his hotel chain to the next level. And yet, he couldn't concentrate on the numbers. He got up from his mahogany desk and walked to the window. Madrid stretched out before him like a kingdom he had conquered hotel by hotel, business by business. But how empty that victory felt when your own daughter looked at you as if you were a stranger. Daddy, why don't you come have dinner with us? Mia had asked 6 months ago, the night before Eleanor was admitted to the hospital for the last time. Mommy says important daddies also need to eat. He had laughed, ruffled her brown hair, and promised he would have dinner with them the next day. Promises. Always promises that work devoured like an insatiable monster. And now Eleanor was gone. And Mia had stopped asking. She had stopped talking almost completely, except for the minimal necessary answers. Yes, Daddy. No, Daddy. I'm fine, Daddy. Polite lies from a 7-year-old girl who had learned that her father preferred comfortable silences to difficult conversations. Nathaniel pressed his forehead against the cold glass. In the distorted reflection, he saw the man he had become. An impeccable suit worth 10,000 euros. A Rolex watch that marked meetings instead of moments. Eyes that knew how to read balance sheets, but not the needs of his own daughter. At what exact moment had Daddy become father? When had spontaneous hugs turned into formal kisses on the forehead? When had he stopped knowing the names of her dolls or her favorite bedtime story? I do it for her, he always justified, to secure her future. But what future could he build on the rubble of a broken present? Mia had all the financial security in the world, and no emotional security. She had a father, but no daddy. His phone vibrated. A message from Martin, his assistant. The Japanese confirm for 4 p.m. Executive boardroom is ready. Nathaniel looked at his watch. 20 minutes to go. He should have been reviewing the figures, preparing his presentation, fine-tuning the last details. Instead, he found himself looking down at the hotel's private square. There was Mia, sitting on her usual bench. Always the same bench, under the same tree. Her pink dress waved gently in the afternoon breeze, but she remained motionless like a small statue. How long had she been there? Nathaniel didn't know. He didn't know many things about his daughter anymore. The previous nanny had told him that Mia went down to that square every afternoon. She says she's waiting, the woman had explained. Waiting for what? Nathaniel had asked. She doesn't say. She just waits. Now, seeing her from his glass tower, Nathaniel understood. Mia was waiting for someone to pull her out of the pit of silence she had sunk into. She was waiting for someone to remind her what it felt like to be alive. She was perhaps hoping that her father would come down from his kingdom of contracts and conferences and just sit with her. But he never came down. There was always an urgent call, an important email, a crisis to solve. And Mia kept waiting, day after day, while the distance between the top floor and the square became increasingly insurmountable. Nathaniel took out his mobile to call human resources. They needed another nanny, someone with experience with difficult children, someone who could... He stopped. What was he doing? Outsourcing his daughter's emotional care as if she were another hotel service? Looking for another stranger to unsuccessfully try to fill the void he himself had created. In the square, Mia bent down to pick something up from the ground. A dry leaf that she studied with the intensity of someone looking for answers in the smallest details. Nathaniel felt a tightness in his chest. His curious and talkative girl had become a small, silent philosopher who found more companionship in dead leaves than in living people. "It's your fault," a voice in his head whispered that sounded terribly like Eleanor's. "You promised you would be different. You promised you wouldn't be like your father." And there it was, his deepest fear made real. He had become exactly what he swore not to be, an absent father, more concerned with building an empire than with building memories. History repeating itself with cruel precision. Nathaniel closed his eyes, remembering. His own father arriving late to every school play, every game, every important moment. The constant excuses, the expensive gifts that were meant to compensate for the absences, the feeling of being just another item on an overloaded agenda. And he, Nathaniel Stone, had done exactly the same thing. Worse, he had done it knowing what it felt like to be on the other side. A movement in the square caught his attention. A woman was approaching Mia. Nathaniel frowned. It wasn't hotel staff. He would know. Her flowered dress contrasted with the formal elegance of the place, and she was walking barefoot. In his 5-star hotel, someone was walking barefoot. He should call security. He should. The woman sat on the grass in front of Mia, not caring about her dress. She took something out of her bag, a small radio. And then, something extraordinary happened. Mia's lips curved. It wasn't exactly a smile, but it was more expression than Nathaniel had seen in months. The woman extended her hands toward Mia, inviting her to something. And then Nathaniel heard his daughter's laughter float up to his office like a forgotten melody. The sound hit him with such force that he had to lean on the glass. Mia was laughing. His Mia was laughing. He dropped his Mont Blanc pen on the Millionaire contract. His hands trembled as he watched his daughter spin, holding hands with the unknown woman. It was impossible. Mia didn't talk to strangers. Mia didn't trust. Mia didn't laugh. And yet, there she was, dancing as if the last 6 months of pain had never existed. Who was that woman? How had she managed in minutes what he hadn't achieved in months? What magic did she possess to break down walls that not even the best child psychologists in Madrid had been able to crack? His phone rang. The screen showed Martin's name. The meeting with the Japanese. The Tokyo contract. 50 million euros waiting in the boardroom. Nathaniel looked at the phone, and then at the square where his daughter was dancing with a barefoot stranger. For the first time in 15 years, at the head of the hotel chain, the decision was easy. "Martin, cancel the meeting." "I'm sorry, sir. The Japanese are already in the room. The Tokyo contract." "I said cancel it." His voice sounded firm, decisive. Something urgent came up. "Is everything okay, Mr. Stone?" Nathaniel saw Mia raise her arms to the sky as she spun, her laughter mixing with the strangers in a symphony he didn't know how much he needed to hear. "Better than okay, Martin. Better than it's been in a long time." He hung up before his assistant could reply. For the first time in years, Nathaniel Stone didn't have a plan. He only knew that he needed to get down to that square. He needed to meet the woman who had brought light back to his daughter's eyes. He needed to stop being the CEO and go back to being a dad. He took off his suit jacket, that 10,000 euro shield that separated him from the real world. His tie followed the same path. As he headed for the elevator, a mixture of fear and hope washed over him. What would he say? How would he thank a stranger for accomplishing what he had failed to do? How would he ask Mia for forgiveness for all these months of absence disguised as presence? The elevator doors opened. For the first time in a long time, Nathaniel Stone was going down from his tower, not to close a deal, but to try to reclaim what truly mattered. As he descended floor by floor toward the square where his daughter was laughing again, he allowed himself to think that maybe, just maybe, it wasn't too late to dance again, finding the rhythm. The square grew closer with every floor he descended, and with it, the possibility of redemption. Because sometimes miracles don't come in million-euro contracts or international expansions. Sometimes they come barefoot, in flowered dresses, dancing with your daughter on a random afternoon in Madrid, reminding you that there are more important things than conquering the world if in the process you lose the people who should be your whole world. Nathaniel got out of the elevator. The main lobby stretched out before him, but his eyes only searched for the door that led to the square. On the other side, Mia was still laughing. On the other side, a stranger had achieved the impossible. On the other side, perhaps, was the opportunity to be the father his daughter needed again. He took a deep breath and crossed the lobby. It was time to come down from his glass tower. It was time to learn to dance again. The music grew clearer with every step, and cheerful, contagious Brazilian melody. Nathaniel pushed open the glass door, and the afternoon sun greeted him along with Mia's laughter. His daughter was spinning with her arms outstretched, her pink dress waving like petals in the wind, and on her face, God, on her face there was a genuine smile. The woman who was dancing with her was the complete opposite of the professional nannies. Dark hair falling in natural waves, tanned skin glowing with the effort of the dance, and a joy so authentic that she seemed to radiate her own light. She moved as if the music was born from within her, guiding Mia with a grace that could not be learned in dance academies. Nathaniel stopped a few feet away, not knowing how to interrupt this magical moment. It was Mia who saw him first. "Daddy!" Her voice had a hint of surprise and something else. Hope. "Look, Daddy. She dances like the fairies from the book Mommy used to read me." The blow went straight to his heart. Mia mentioning Eleanor naturally, without the dull sadness that usually accompanied any reference to her mother, and calling him to share her joy, as if the months of distance hadn't existed. The woman turned to him, and Nathaniel could see her warm, curious brown eyes. There was something in her expression that completely disarmed him. There was no calculation, no usual reverence shown to the hotel owner. Just genuine curiosity, and maybe a hint of challenge. I'm sorry," she began, and her Brazilian accent confirmed the origin of the music. "I didn't know she was your daughter. I saw her alone and I thought, no." The word came out stronger than necessary. "Don't apologize, please." A silence settled between them, broken only by the sound of the water from the fountain where Mia had dipped her bare feet. The girl looked from one to the other with that acute perception that children have for detecting invisible emotional currents. "I'm Isla," the woman said finally, extending a hand. "Isla Gonzalez. I'm a guest at the hotel." Nathaniel took her hand, noticing the contrast between her soft skin and her firm grip. An electric shiver ran through him, something he hadn't felt since. No, it was not the time for such comparisons. Nathaniel Stone, the grateful father. She smiled, and it was as if the sun had decided to shine only for him. It was not the professional smile he received daily, but something genuine that illuminated her entire face. Mia is lovely. She reminded me of myself as a child. I always say that music heals the soul. And does it work? The words escaped before he could stop them. About healing the soul. Isla tilted her head. Studying him, for a moment, Nathaniel felt that she could see through all his defenses, straight into the emptiness he carried inside. Sometimes, it depends on how willing the soul is to be healed. Mia interrupted the moment, tugging on Isla's dress. Can we dance another song? Please, Isla, Daddy never dances with me. The innocent comment was another direct hit. Nathaniel felt the heat rise to his cheeks. When was the last time he danced with his daughter? When was the last time he did something with her that wasn't supervising her routine from a distance? Well, Isla said, winking at Mia, it's never too late to learn. Right, Mr. Stone? The challenge in her voice was evident. Nathaniel found himself trapped between two pairs of hopeful eyes, his daughter's honey-colored eyes, identical to Eleanor's, and the brown eyes of this stranger, who in one afternoon had achieved more than all his failed efforts. I don't know how to dance, he admitted, feeling the weight of all the things he didn't know how to do with his daughter. Nobody knows until they try. Isla extended her hand to him. It's just a matter of feeling the music, of letting go. Nathaniel looked at that outstretched hand as if it were a lifeline in the middle of an emotional shipwreck. In his world, everything was calculated, measured, planned. But here, in this square where his daughter had come back to life, the rules seemed different. He took her hand. The music began, a gentle bossa nova that Isla hummed as she placed Nathaniel's hand on her waist and took his other with delicacy. Relax, she whispered. It's not a business negotiation. Just let go. And for the first time in a long time, Nathaniel Stone allowed himself to do exactly that, to let go. As Isla guided him with infinite patience, laughing when he stumbled awkwardly, encouraging him when he managed to follow the rhythm, something inside him began to melt. Mia danced around them, her laughter mixing with the music in the most beautiful soundtrack Nathaniel had ever heard. And as they spun in that square, the Millionaire CEO felt the first cracks in the armor he had built around his heart. Thank you, he whispered to Isla, and the word carried the weight of months of desperation. She looked into his eyes, understanding. Sometimes we all need to remember how to dance. The song ended, but Mia was already asking for another, and another. And as the evening fell over Madrid, and the three figures continued to move to the rhythm of Brazilian music in the Emperador Hotel Square, Nathaniel Stone began to believe that maybe, just maybe, he had found his way back home. Not to the luxurious penthouse on the top floor, but to the home he had abandoned without moving, his daughter's heart. He didn't know who Isla Gonzalez really was, or why she was in Madrid. He didn't know how one afternoon could change so much. He only knew that for the first time in 6 months, Mia was laughing. And so was he. And that, at that moment, was all that mattered. The transformation was just beginning. There would be more afternoons in the square, more dances, more laughter. There would be a dinner that night, where Isla would cook feijoada, and Mia would talk non-stop for the first time in months. There would be difficult moments, too, because healing is never a linear process. But none of that mattered now. Now, there were only the three of them, the music, and the feeling that something broken was finally beginning to mend. And as the sun set over the Emperador Hotel Square, painting the sky golden and pink, Nathaniel Stone learned the most important lesson of his life. Sometimes you have to come down from the highest towers to find the most valuable treasures. Sometimes you have to stop building empires to build moments. Sometimes, just sometimes, miracles come in the form of barefoot women who teach you to dance in the square of your own hotel. The recipe for a new life. "Daddy, are you going to dance with us more?" Mia's voice brought him back to the present. His daughter was looking at him with those honey-colored eyes so similar to Eleanor's. But for the first time in months, there was no sadness in them. "If Isla teaches me," Nathaniel replied, surprising himself with the ease with which the words came out. "Of course she will," Mia exclaimed, clapping. "Isla knows all the dances in the world. She taught me the rain dance and the wind dance and—" "Mia, my love, don't exaggerate," Isla interrupted gently. "They're just dances we made up while playing." Nathaniel watched the interaction. The naturalness with which Isla spoke with Mia, without condescension or the professional rigidity of nannies, as if she genuinely enjoyed his daughter's company. "How long have you been in Madrid?" he asked, genuinely curious. "I arrived 3 days ago," Isla replied, sitting on the edge of the fountain next to Mia. "I always wanted to see Spain. I saved up for years, quit my job in Rio, and here I am." She quit her job to travel. Nathaniel couldn't hide his surprise. In his world, no one left job security for a dream. Isla shrugged, an elegant gesture that made her dark hair sway. "Life is too short not to chase what makes us happy. Don't you think?" The question hung between them. Nathaniel thought about his own decisions, the security of the hotel empire, the endless meetings, the €1,000,000 contracts. When had he stopped chasing happiness to chase only success? "Daddy works a lot," Mia intervened with that brutal honesty of children. "He says it's important, but I think dancing is important too." Isla and Nathaniel exchanged a meaningful look. In her brown eyes, there was understanding, not judgment, as if she perfectly understood the conflict that was tearing him apart. "Your dad is right. Work is important," Isla said gently. "But you're right too. Dancing feeds the soul." "And what happens if the soul is very hungry?" Mia asked seriously. The innocent question hit Nathaniel like a punch. His 7-year-old daughter had perfectly articulated what he had been feeling for months, a hunger of the soul that no business success could satisfy. "Then you have to give it a banquet of dances," Isla replied, winking at Mia. "What do you say we organize one right now?" "Yes!" Mia jumped, splashing water. "Daddy, can we have a banquet of dances?" Nathaniel looked at his Rolex watch. 4:47 p.m. In his office, contracts, emails, and video conferences with Tokyo were waiting. In his hands, he had the power to make half the business world wait. The decision was not difficult. "We can do whatever you want, my love." The smile that lit up Mia's face was worth more than any closed deal. Isla stood up, adjusting the radio to find another station. "Let's see, here we are. Samba. Do you know how to samba?" "No," Nathaniel admitted. "But it seems it's time to learn." The music filled the square with a contagious rhythm. Isla took Mia's hands and began to show her the basic steps, her hips moving with a fluidity that seemed to defy the laws of physics. Nathaniel watched them, mesmerized not only by the dance, but by his daughter's transformation. Mia tried to imitate the movements, laughing when she made a mistake, trying again with determination. "Come on, Mr. Stone," Isla called to him. "Samba is for everyone." Nathaniel approached, feeling clumsy and out of place. Isla took one of his hands and placed the other on his waist, but this time the grip was different, more dynamic. "Samba is not elegant like a waltz," she explained. "It's pure joy. Feel the rhythm in your chest and let your body follow." "Daddy looks like a robot," Mia laughed, and even Nathaniel had to laugh. "A very handsome robot," Isla corrected playfully. "He just needs to oil his joints." Nathaniel felt the heat rise to his cheeks. When was the last time someone had flirted with him so brazenly and naturally? The women in his social circle were calculating, measured. Isla was like a fresh wind from the tropics. "My dad is the most handsome man in the world," Mia declared with a fierce protectiveness. "Mommy always said so." A momentary silence fell between them. It was the second time Mia had mentioned Eleanor without shadows entering her eyes. Isla gently squeezed Nathaniel's hand, a gesture of silent support that he deeply appreciated. "Your mommy was right," Isla said softly. "And I bet she also knew how to dance." "Yes," Mia smiled with nostalgia. "She used to dance in the kitchen when she made pancakes. Daddy would twirl her, and she would laugh a lot." Nathaniel felt a lump in his throat. Pancake Sundays, a tradition that died with Eleanor, and that he had not had the courage to resume. "You know what?" Isla crouched down to Mia's level. "I think your mommy would be very happy to see us dancing here. Don't you think?" Mia thought about it for a moment, then nodded solemnly. Yes, she liked it when Daddy was happy. The simple words contained a devastating truth. Nathaniel had not been happy in a long time, and his daughter knew it. But here, in this square, with this extraordinary woman who had appeared out of nowhere, something was changing. The music continued, and little by little, Nathaniel found the rhythm. He wasn't perfect. He probably looked ridiculous. But Mia was laughing and Isla was encouraging him, and for the first time in months, he felt a lightness in his chest. "You're getting it!" Isla exclaimed. "I knew there was a dancer hiding under that suit." "Under many layers of suit," Nathaniel joked, surprised by his own ease. "Daddy made a joke," Mia whispered in amazement. "Isla, you made Daddy make a joke." The childish observation made them all laugh. Nathaniel realized he couldn't remember the last time he had joked, the last time he had allowed himself to be light, to be human, to be simply Nathaniel instead of Mr. Stone. The song ended, and another, slower one began. Mia ran to build imaginary castles with the water from the fountain, leaving them alone. Isla looked at him with those brown eyes that seemed to see beyond surfaces. "Thank you," Nathaniel said simply. "For what?" "For giving me my daughter back. For making her laugh. For," he gestured vaguely, "for all this." "I didn't do anything," Isla replied softly. "You just needed to remember how to be together, how to be happy. If it were that simple." "It's exactly that simple," she insisted. "We adults complicate it with our fears and guilt. Children know it. Happiness is dancing in a square. It's laughing for no reason. It's being present." Nathaniel studied her. There was depth beneath that apparent simplicity. Pain, too, perhaps. Untold stories that had forged that philosophy of life. "And you? Are you happy?" The question seemed to surprise her. For a moment, Isla's defenses wavered, and Nathaniel glimpsed vulnerability. "I'm learning," she admitted. "That's why I'm here, looking for my own music." Before Nathaniel could respond, Mia came running back, soaked up to her knees. Isla, can we have dinner together? Can you come to our house?" The spontaneity of the invitation took the adults by surprise. Nathaniel cleared his throat. "Mia, we can't impose." "I'd love to," Isla interrupted, looking into his eyes. "If it's not a bother." "It's not a bother," Mia exclaimed before Nathaniel could speak. "Daddy, say yes." "Please, please, please." Nathaniel looked at those pleading little eyes, that face that for the first time in months shone with hope. Then he looked at Isla, who was waiting for his answer with a smile that promised more afternoons like this. "Of course, it would be an honor to have you at our table." "Yes!" Mia jumped, hugging Isla tightly. "Can we cook something special? Like Mommy used to?" Another natural mention of Eleanor. Isla stroked Mia's wet hair. "How about I cook something from my country? It could be feijoada. It's like a hug in the form of food. A hug you can eat?" Mia scrunched up her nose, amused by the idea. Exactly. And the best hugs are shared with family. The word hung in the air. Family. Something Nathaniel and Mia had stopped feeling they were since Eleanor left. But there, in that square gilded by the afternoon sun, with this strange Brazilian woman who had burst into their lives, they were making something new. Not exactly a family, but a possibility. A hope. Then it's decided, Nathaniel said. Brazilian dinner in the penthouse. Does 7 o'clock sound good? Perfect. That will give me time to change and get the ingredients. Martin can help you with whatever you need. He's my assistant. The same one who must be wondering why you canceled an important meeting, Isla said, with a knowing look. Nathaniel shrugged, a gesture he unconsciously copied from her. There are more important things than business. Daddy said there are more important things than business. Mia looked at Isla with huge eyes. Are you doing magic? Isla laughed, the sound like wind chimes. No, my love. I'm just helping you remember what you already knew. They said goodbye at the hotel entrance. Mia insisted on a long hug that Isla returned with tenderness. When it was Nathaniel's turn, the handshake lasted a second longer than necessary. Until 7, Isla said. Until 7, Nathaniel repeated, watching her walk away. Going up to the penthouse, Mia wouldn't stop talking. Dinner plans, songs she wanted Isla to teach her, stories about Brazil she wanted to hear. Nathaniel listened, marveling at the change. His silent girl had returned to being the chatterbox she used to be. While Mia chattered, Nathaniel stayed on the penthouse terrace looking at the square. The empty space where they had danced seemed to shimmer with echoes of laughter. In a few hours, that woman had achieved the impossible. But more than making Mia laugh, she had done something deeper. She had shown them the way back to each other. His phone rang. Martin. Of course. Mr. Stone, the Japanese are very upset. They are threatening to cancel the entire project. Nathaniel contemplated the square, imagining Isla dancing barefoot, Mia laughing, himself awkwardly trying to follow the rhythm. Let them cancel, he said calmly. There are more important projects to build. Sir. Good afternoon, Martin. And by the way, I need you to get ingredients for feijoada. It's a Brazilian dish. Get the best ones. Feijoada, sir. Yes. Is it important? More important than Tokyo. He hung up before his bewildered assistant could reply. In Mia's room, he heard her humming the Brazilian melody. Nathaniel smiled. Yes. There were definitely more important projects to build, projects of the heart. And tonight, at dinner with the barefoot woman who had taught them to dance again, the construction of the most important one of all would begin. Reclaiming his family, or what was left of it, or what it could become. The rest of the story, it was 6:45. Nathaniel checked the dining table, which hadn't been used in months, for the 3rd time. He had dismissed the staff early, wanting privacy for this special dinner. Mia ran around the penthouse, changing dresses every 5 minutes. Daddy, do you think she'll like pink or blue? She appeared at the door with a dress in each hand. Either is fine, my love. Isla isn't coming to see your dress. Then why is she coming? Mia asked with that childlike perceptiveness that always disarmed him. Nathaniel was at a loss for an answer. Why was Isla coming? To cook? To continue the miracle she had started in the square? To fill the empty spaces of this too-big penthouse with her laughter? She's coming because we invited her, he finally said. Because she's our friend. Friend? Mia tilted her head. But we just met her. Sometimes, Nathaniel searched for the words. Sometimes important people arrive like that, all of a sudden. As if they were always meant to be there. Mia thought about it for a moment, then nodded solemnly. Like when Mommy met you? She said she knew you were special when she saw you trip on the coffee shop door. Nathaniel smiled at the memory. His first meeting with Eleanor, he was rushing into a coffee shop, tripped on the step, spilling coffee all over his shoes. And Eleanor, then a stranger, laughing without malice and offering him napkins. Yes, exactly like that. Then Isla is special, Mia concluded. I'll put on the blue one. Mommy liked blue. She ran off, leaving Nathaniel with his thoughts. He looked around the penthouse, suddenly seeing how cold and impersonal it had become. Designer furniture, modern art on the walls, everything perfectly coordinated and completely soulless. When had it stopped being a home and become an extension of his office? The doorbell rang at exactly 7. Mia came running, but Nathaniel got to the door first. I'll get it, he said with a firmness that surprised them both. You wait in the living room. But Daddy! Mia, she went off, grumbling. Nathaniel took a deep breath before opening the door. He didn't know why he was nervous. It was just a dinner. Just. Isla was there, transformed, but the same. She had changed the flowered dress for jeans and a simple blouse. Her hair was pulled back in a high ponytail, revealing the natural elegance of her neck. She was carrying 2 shopping bags and a smile that lit up the hallway. Good evening, she said, and even those 2 words sounded musical in her accent. Good evening. Let me help you. Nathaniel took the bags, his hands brushing hers in the process. Thank you. I hope you like the feijoada. It's my grandmother's recipe. I'm sure I will. Mia's excited. She hasn't stopped talking about you since we got back. They entered the penthouse. Mia appeared running, throwing herself into Isla's arms, as if they had known each other forever. You came? I thought maybe you wouldn't. Why wouldn't I come? I promised to cook for you. Promises are kept. Not all of them, Mia mumbled, and Nathaniel felt the sting. But yours are, right? Whenever I can, yes. Nathaniel guided them to the kitchen, a huge and perfectly equipped space that was rarely used beyond morning coffee. Isla whistled in admiration. This looks like a restaurant kitchen. In my apartment in Rio, we can barely fit 3 people. It's too big, Nathaniel admitted. Like everything here? Isla looked at him for a moment, then smiled. Big kitchens are perfect for cooking with helpers. You'll help me? Yes, Mia clapped. What do we do? Soon the kitchen was filled with activity. Isla directed the operation naturally, assigning simple tasks to Mia and more complex ones to Nathaniel. As he chopped onions, Nathaniel watched her move through the space as if she had always belonged there. Daddy's crying, Mia announced when she saw him tear up from the onions. It's the onions, my love, Isla explained. Sometimes good things make us cry a little, like when I'm very happy, Mia agreed. Sometimes I want to cry because I'm so happy. And are you happy now? Isla asked, while stirring the beans. Very. Daddy is cooking with us. He never cooks. Well, he used to, with Mommy. They made pancakes on Sundays. The silence that followed was not awkward. Isla continued cooking, while Nathaniel finished with the vegetables. It was Mia who filled the spaces with chatter about school, about her favorite books, about the stories her mommy used to tell her. Mommy used to tell me about a girl who could talk to the stars, she said, while trying to cut cherry tomatoes with a butter knife. Are there many stars in Brazil? A ton, Isla replied. In my neighborhood, we would climb on the roofs to see them better. You climbed on the roofs? Mia looked at her with admiration. Daddy never even lets me climb the ladder. That's because your dad takes care of you, Isla said, winking at Nathaniel. Daddies worry about their princesses. I'm not a princess, Mia protested. I'm an explorer. Or a dancer. Oh, I don't know what I am. You can be all of those things, Isla consoled her. When I was a little girl, I wanted to be an astronaut, then a dancer, then a chef, then a teacher. And what are you now? Isla paused for a moment, the wooden spoon suspended over the pot. Now I'm a dream seeker. Is that a real job? Nathaniel asked, genuinely intrigued. It doesn't pay very well, Isla admitted with a smile. But the rewards are different. Like dancing in squares, Mia said wisely. Exactly like dancing in squares. The kitchen filled with the aroma of the feijoada. Nathaniel had forgotten how this felt. The warmth of cooking together, the laughter over small accidents. Mia spilled flour. He confused salt with sugar. The feeling of creating something together. In Brazil, Isla said, while adding the last ingredients, feijoada is more than food. It's an excuse to bring the family together, to talk, to be present. My grandmother used to say that the best seasoning is company. Your grandmother was wise, Nathaniel said, tasting the stew. This is delicious. It's not ready yet. It needs to simmer, Isla said, like the best things in life. Their eyes met over the steam from the pot. There was something in that look, a connection that went beyond words. Mia, with her childlike radar, noticed it. "Daddy, you have that face," she announced. "What face?" Nathaniel looked away, suddenly self-conscious. "The face you make when you think about important things, like when you look at Mommy's photos." The comment fell like a stone in still water. Nathaniel braced himself for the usual pang of pain. But this time it was different. Softer, as if Isla's presence had cushioned the blow. "Your dad thinks about a lot of important things," Isla said softly. "It's normal. Daddies have a lot of responsibilities." "Too many," Mia murmured. "That's why they don't dance." "Hey," Nathaniel crouched down to her level. "I danced today, didn't I?" "Yes," Mia smiled. "And you weren't that bad, just a little bit like a robot." Isla laughed, that sound Nathaniel was starting to adore. With practice, all robots can become dancers. When the feijoada was ready, they moved to the living room. Mia insisted on showing Isla her favorite books, her drawings, the view from the terrace. Nathaniel followed her, marveling at how his daughter was flourishing under Isla's genuine attention. "Yes," Mia pointed to the lights of Madrid. "From up here, it looks like the stars are below instead of above." "It's true." Isla leaned on the railing, as if the sky and the earth had been inverted. "Mommy liked this view," Mia said naturally. "She used to say each light was a story." "And what story do you think we are?" Isla asked. Mia thought about it seriously. "I think we're the story of the light that came back on." "Daddy!" Nathaniel felt his throat tighten. His 7-year-old daughter had just perfectly articulated what he felt, but could not express. "Yes, my love, exactly that story." The kitchen timer sounded. The feijoada was ready. They served dinner together, with Mia insisting on setting the table just like Mommy used to, with cloth napkins and everything. Nathaniel opened a bottle of wine for the adults and poured orange juice for Mia. "To new friends," Isla proposed, raising her glass. "To dancing in squares," Mia added. "To," Nathaniel searched for the words, "to the lights that come back on." They toasted, and in that clinking of glasses there was more than a simple gesture. It was a silent pact, a promise of possibilities. The feijoada was spectacular. Mia ate with an appetite that Nathaniel hadn't seen in months. Between bites, she bombarded Isla with questions about Brazil, her travels, her life. "Why did you come to Madrid?" she finally asked. Isla put down her fork for a moment. "I needed to find myself." "Were you lost?" Mia frowned. "Like in the woods?" "Something like that. Sometimes we get lost without moving from a place. Then we need to travel far away to remember who we are." Nathaniel felt that the words were also directed at him. How long had he been lost in his own life? "I've never traveled," Mia said sadly. "Daddy is always busy." "Your dad is busy," Isla said. "But that doesn't mean you can't travel with your imagination, with books, with music. Today, for example, you traveled to Brazil without leaving Madrid." "Really?" Mia's eyes lit up. "Of course. You ate Brazilian food. You listened to Brazilian music. You learned about my country. That's traveling too. And can we travel to more places without moving? As many as you want. The world is big and full of stories waiting to be discovered." After dinner, Mia insisted that Isla see her room. Nathaniel followed her, noticing details he had ignored for months. the drawings on the walls, all from the time before. The photo of Eleanor on the nightstand, the toys organized with an unnatural neatness for a 7-year-old girl. "You have a beautiful room," Isla said, sitting on the bed. "Mommy decorated it," Mia explained. "She said the unicorn on the wall would always watch over me." She sat next to Isla, snuggling up against her with the trust of children who instinctively recognize kindness. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, witnessing a scene that deeply moved him. "Will you tell me a story?" Mia asked. "Daddy doesn't tell me stories anymore." Another pang of guilt. Nathaniel was going to protest, to explain, but Isla looked at him and, with a subtle sign, indicated that he should wait. "How about we make one up together?" she proposed. "I'll start, you continue, and your dad finishes." "Yes!" Mia clapped. "But Daddy has to sit here too." Nathaniel sat on the other side of Mia, who was now radiant between the two adults. For a moment, the image hit him. They looked like a family. Not the broken family they were, but something new, different, but equally valid. "Once upon a time," Isla began, "there was a little girl who could make the stars shine with her laughter. And one day," Mia continued excitedly, "the stars went out because the little girl was sad." Both of them looked at Nathaniel. He took a deep breath. But then a dancing star came from the other side of the world and taught the little girl that light always finds a way to shine again. Mia smiled, satisfied with the story. She snuggled closer to Isla, and Nathaniel noticed her eyelids becoming heavy. It was the first time in months she had fallen asleep without tears or anticipated nightmares. "I think someone's sleepy," Isla whispered. "I'm not sleepy," Mia protested, yawning. "I want you to stay." "I'm already here," Isla reassured her. "And your dad is too." In minutes, Mia was asleep. Isla began to move carefully, but the little girl held on tighter. "Wait a bit," Nathaniel suggested in a low voice. "If you move too fast, she'll wake up." They stayed that way for a few more minutes, in silence, watching over Mia's sleep. Nathaniel watched his daughter's peaceful face, more relaxed than he had seen it in months. "Thank you," he finally whispered. "For what?" Isla also spoke in whispers. "For this. For making her happy. For making her sleep without nightmares. For everything." "It wasn't me," Isla said. "It was you. I just reminded you how to do it." Finally, Mia loosened her grip. Isla got up with infinite care, and Nathaniel tucked her in. He stood for a moment longer, watching her, before following Isla out of the room. In the living room, a comfortable silence settled between them. Nathaniel poured more wine, while Isla settled on the couch. "She's a special girl," she said. "Like her mother," Nathaniel replied automatically, then stopped. "I'm sorry, I don't want to make you uncomfortable talking about." "You're not making me uncomfortable. Mia needs to talk about her mother. And you do too." Nathaniel sat across from her, swirling the wine in his glass. "It's just that, since Eleanor died, it feels like talking about her only brings pain. Mia shuts down, I shut down, and we end up further apart than before. Maybe that's because you try to avoid the pain instead of walking through it. Pain is like rain. If you hide from it, it never passes. If you face it, it eventually clears up and the sun comes out." "Brazilian philosophy?" Nathaniel tried to joke. "Life philosophy," Isla corrected softly. "I lost my father when I was Mia's age. My mother tried to protect me by not talking about him. It took me years to understand that the dead live on in our stories. When we stop talking about them, they really die." Nathaniel absorbed the words. There was something deeply true in them, something that resonated with what he had seen that night. Mia talking about Eleanor naturally, without the crushing weight of tragedy. "Eleanor was," he began, then stopped. "I don't know why I'm telling you this, because you need to tell it, and I know how to listen. And so, For the first time in 6 months, Nathaniel talked about Eleanor. Not about her death, but about her life. About how they met. About her contagious laughter. About how she transformed his orderly world into a beautiful chaos. He talked about pancake Sundays, about dancing in the kitchen, about bedtime stories. Isla listened without interrupting, nodding at times, smiling at others. When Nathaniel finally fell silent, exhausted from the catharsis, she spoke. Mia is lucky. She had a wonderful mother, and she has a father who loves her deeply. You just need to remember how to show that love. I don't know if I know how without Eleanor. She was the one who knew. Everything. I only know how to work. Boy, you've shown you know much more. You danced, you cooked, you told stories. You allowed yourself to be human. Nathaniel looked at her, this extraordinary woman, who had appeared in their lives like a casual miracle. How do you do it? How do you see the good in the middle of the mess? Practice, Isla smiled, and faith that there is always light, even if it's hard to find sometimes. She got up from the couch, smoothing her blouse. I should go. It's late and tomorrow. Tomorrow? Nathaniel got up too, not wanting her to leave. Do you have plans? I was thinking of visiting the Prado, then maybe the Retiro Park. Be a tourist, you know. Mia and I. He stopped, unsure. Could we join you? Be your local guides. Isla's smile lit up the room. The busy CEO has time to be a tour guide? I'm learning there are more important things than meetings, Nathaniel replied, surprised by his own conviction. Then I accept, but with one condition. What is it? That Mia chooses the itinerary. Children always know how to find the magic in the everyday. Deal. He walked her to the door. On the threshold, she turned to him. Nathaniel. It was the first time she used his name. This thing you and Mia are building is beautiful. Don't let anything stop it. Before he could respond, she leaned in and kissed him softly on the cheek. A mere brush, but it sent electricity through his entire body. Until tomorrow, she whispered, and she was gone. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, touching the cheek where Isla's lips had left an invisible but indelible mark. In the penthouse, everything seemed brighter, more alive. The remains of dinner on the table were no longer a mess, but evidence of life. Mia's laughter still floated in the air, the aroma of the feijoada mixed with Isla's subtle perfume. He went to check on Mia. She was sleeping soundly, a gentle smile on her lips. For the first time in months, there was no tension on her face. Nathaniel sat on the edge of the bed, marveling at the change. Eleanor, he whispered to the air. I don't know what you would think of all this, but Mia laughed again today, and so did I. I hope you understand. Somewhere in Madrid, Isla was walking back to her hotel, humming a Brazilian melody and thinking about a father and daughter who were finding their way back to each other. And in the penthouse of the Emperador Hotel, Nathaniel Stone, the man who controlled everything, was discovering that sometimes losing control was exactly what he needed to find himself. Tomorrow, there would be more dances, more laughter, more moments stolen from pain. But tonight, in the quiet of his home that was beginning to feel like one again, Nathaniel allowed himself something he hadn't done in a long time. Hope. Life, like Isla's feijoada, needed to simmer slowly. And for the first time since Eleanor's death, Nathaniel was willing to wait for all the ingredients to blend into something new and beautiful. A family reunited, Nathaniel cleaned the dishes with automatic movements, but his mind was elsewhere. On the kiss on the cheek, on the promise of tomorrow, on how 3 people having dinner together could feel more complete than years of business success. He carefully put away the leftover feijoada. For Mia's lunch tomorrow, he thought, then stopped. Since when had he thought about his daughter's lunches? Since when had he known her daily routines? The answer was painful. since today. Since Isla had shown them what they were missing. His phone vibrated insistently. 12 missed calls from Martin, 3 messages from the Japanese investors, an email marked urgent from the legal department. Nathaniel looked at the screen for a moment, then turned off the phone completely. For the first time in 15 years, the Empire could wait. He went up to his study, that sanctuary of glass and steel where he spent most of his nights. But instead of turning on the computer, he opened a drawer he had kept closed for months. Inside were photo albums that Eleanor had insisted on making, despite the digital age. Important memories deserve to exist on paper, she used to say. She was right, as she was about so many things. He turned the pages slowly. Eleanor pregnant, radiant. Mia as a newborn, impossibly small, in his clumsy first-time father's arms. The 3 of them on the beach, covered in sand and happiness. The last Christmas together, not knowing it would be their last. He didn't realize he was crying until a tear fell on a photo. But it wasn't the desperate crying of the last few months. It was something softer, cleaner. Like the rain that Isla had mentioned, necessary for the sun to come out again. A soft noise alerted him. Mia was at the door, barefoot and in her unicorn pajamas. "Daddy? Are you sad?" Nathaniel extended his arm, and she ran to snuggle against him. "A little bit, but it's a good kind of sad." "Is there such a thing?" "Yes. It's when you remember beautiful things that are no longer there, but you're glad you experienced them." Mia studied the photos seriously. "Mommy looked happy. She was happy. We were happy. And can we no longer be happy without her?" The question hit him with its devastating simplicity. Nathaniel kissed his daughter's head, breathing in the scent of strawberry shampoo. "Of course we can. It's just that it will be a different kind of happiness, like when Isla taught us to dance today." "I like Isla," Mia declared. "She smells like sunshine." Nathaniel smiled at the description. It was perfect. Isla smelled like sunshine, freedom, and possibilities. "I like her too." "You like her?" Mia looked at him with those eyes that saw too much. "How did you like Mommy?" The question caught him off guard. How could he explain to a 7-year-old girl the complex feelings that Isla was awakening in him? The guilt of feeling something for someone who wasn't Eleanor. The fear of betraying a memory. The tentative hope that maybe, just maybe, there was room in his heart to love again. "It's different," he said finally. "Your mommy was my first love. She's a special friend who came when we needed her most." Mia seemed satisfied with the answer. She snuggled closer to him, looking at the photos. "Tell me about when you and Mommy used to dance." And Nathaniel did. Stories he had buried under grief. The time Eleanor dragged him to salsa classes and he stepped on the instructor. The night they danced in the rain in Paris, soaked and laughing. The Sunday mornings when music filled the kitchen as they made breakfast. Mia listened intently, occasionally laughing or asking for more details. It was the longest conversation they had had about Eleanor since the funeral, and it didn't hurt as Nathaniel expected. On the contrary, each shared story seemed to lighten the weight on his chest. "Why did you stop dancing?" Mia asked when the stories ran out. "Why?" Nathaniel searched for an honest answer. "Because I thought that without your mommy to dance with me, it didn't make sense. But today you danced with Isla. And with me? Yes. And I realized I was wrong. Your mommy wouldn't want us to stop dancing." Mia nodded wisely. "Mommy always said that life was a song and that you had to dance the whole thing." How was it possible that a 7-year-old girl was wiser than him? Nathaniel hugged her tightly, grateful for this little miracle that was his daughter. "Should we go back to bed?" he suggested, when he noticed her yawning. "Can I sleep with you? Like when I was little?" Nathaniel didn't have the heart to remind her that she was still little. "Of course you can." He carried her to his room, that space that had been only his since Eleanor died. Mia snuggled into the side that had been her mother's, looking tiny in the king-size bed. "Daddy, is Isla going to teach us more dances tomorrow?" "I don't know. Maybe. I hope so. I like it when you smile." In minutes, she was asleep again. Nathaniel watched her in the dim light, marveling at her resilience. Children had that amazing ability to adapt, to find light in the darkness, to accept changes with grace. He got up silently and went to make coffee. The kitchen still subtly smelled of feijoada. The dry plates were waiting to be put away. Evidence of real life in what had been a luxurious mausoleum. While the coffee was brewing, Nathaniel noticed he was humming. The Brazilian melody from yesterday. When was the last time he had hummed? His reflection in the window surprised him. He looked different. Younger, maybe. Or just more alive. As if layers of executive weariness had peeled away, revealing the man beneath. "Daddy!" Mia appeared running, her hair a tangle of adorable bedhead. "Is it time yet? Are we going to see Isla?" "First, breakfast," Nathaniel said, pouring her juice. "And you need to get dressed. What should I wear? Something pretty? Something comfortable for dancing? Whatever makes you happy." Mia looked at him as if he had said something revolutionary. "Really? It doesn't matter if it matches?" Nathaniel remembered the endless discussions with the nannies about appropriate clothing, rules about what to wear, for what occasion. All part of the perfect image he had tried to maintain. "It doesn't matter, as long as you feel like yourself." Mia hugged him tightly, then ran off. "I'm going to wear my rainbow dress. Isla will like the colors." Nathaniel made toast, cut fruit, heated milk for Mia's chocolate. Simple tasks that had been delegated to the staff for so long. He had forgotten the basic pleasure of preparing breakfast for his daughter. And done! Mia appeared in a dress that did indeed have all the colors of the rainbow and shoes that didn't match at all. She looked perfect. They ate breakfast, talking about the places they would show Isla. Mia had very specific ideas. The Retiro Park Lake where the ducks raced, the ice cream shop that put little colored umbrellas in the cones, the street musician who played the violin near the Prado. "Those aren't normal tourist spots," Nathaniel warned. "Better. Isla isn't a normal tourist." Again, that childlike wisdom that disarmed him. Nathaniel looked at his own clothes. He had automatically chosen dress pants and a shirt, a CEO uniform on a day off. He got up abruptly. "Give me 5 minutes." He went up to his room and opened the part of the closet he hadn't touched in years. Jeans, polos, sneakers Eleanor had bought him, and he had worn once. He changed quickly, feeling strangely liberated. "Daddy!" Mia clapped when she saw him. "You look like a normal person." "Thanks, I think. It's good. Isla said she likes us because we're real, not perfect." When had they had that conversation? Nathaniel was discovering that the women in his life, all 3 women, had secret communications that were completely... At 10 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang at Isla's hotel room. Mia was practically vibrating with excitement. When the door opened, Nathaniel felt the air leave his lungs. Isla was wearing a simple white cotton dress and sandals. Her hair was loose, falling in natural waves. Without elaborate makeup, just her golden skin and that smile that seemed to light up the hallway. "Good morning, dancers," she greeted them cheerfully. "Ready for the adventure?" "Super ready," Mia replied. "Look, I'm wearing colors like you yesterday." "Beautiful." Isla crouched down to admire the dress. "You're a walking rainbow." "And Daddy is wearing normal clothes," Mia announced proudly. Isla looked at Nathaniel, and something twinkled in her eyes. "Normal suits you well." Nathaniel felt the heat rise in his neck. Since when did a simple compliment make him nervous like a teenager? "Shall we go?" he suggested to hide his confusion. The day that followed was magical in its simplicity. Mia did indeed take them to her special places. the corner of the park where a family of ducks had made a nest, the bridge from which you could see the best reflections of the water, the dragon-shaped tree she had discovered with Eleanor. Isla marveled at everything, asking the right questions, showing genuine enthusiasm for each of Mia's small discoveries. And Nathaniel followed her, feeling as if he were seeing his city for the first time. At the ice cream shop, Isla convinced the owner to mix 3 flavors that, in theory, didn't go together. The result was surprisingly delicious. Like everything she touched, it seemed to transform into something special. It's just that life is about experimenting, she explained, licking her impossible cone. If you always order the same thing, you miss out on discovering new things. Like Daddy with his meetings, Mia said innocently. Nathaniel should have been offended. Instead, he laughed. Exactly. Like me with my meetings. They found the street violinist near the Prado, an older man with a white beard who played as if the instrument were an extension of his soul. Mia left coins in his case, and he winked at her, changing to a more cheerful melody. "Shall we dance?" Isla proposed. And there, in the middle of the street, to the amusement of passers-by, the 3 of them danced around the musician. Mia twirled with her arms open, Isla moved with that natural grace, and Nathaniel just let go. A group of tourists applauded. Someone took photos. But Nathaniel didn't care. For the first time, he understood what Eleanor had tried to teach him, that the best moments are not planned. They just happen. They had lunch on a small terrace overlooking the park. Mia chattered about her plans for when Isla came back to visit them. "Because you're coming back, right?" she asked, with a fear that Nathaniel recognized all too well. Isla looked at Nathaniel before replying. "Spain is very beautiful, especially Madrid, especially with the best guides in the world." It wasn't exactly a promise, but Mia took it as one. And Nathaniel? Nathaniel found himself hoping it was true, that this extraordinary woman would not disappear from their lives as suddenly as she had appeared. The afternoon found them at the Crystal Palace, the sunlight creating rainbows through the windows. Mia had gone off to explore, leaving them alone for the first time that day. "You're a different man with her," Isla observed. "I'm trying to remember who I was before I got lost in work." And who was that? Nathaniel thought about it. Someone who believed in pancake sundaes, in spontaneous dancing, in the idea that success wasn't measured only in numbers. That man is still there. He just needed to remember how to dance. They looked at each other for a long moment. The air between them was charged with unspoken possibilities. Nathaniel wanted to touch her, to take her hand, to thank her for the miracle she was working in their lives. But Mia came running back before he could act. "Daddy, Isla, come see. There's a cat that lives here." And the moment passed, but the connection remained, invisible and palpable, like the threads of light that crossed the Crystal Palace, uniting them in ways Nathaniel was just beginning to understand. The grand proposal. The following days were a blur of happiness that Nathaniel hadn't experienced in a long time. Isla had become a natural part of their routines, impromptu breakfasts where Mia insisted on trying Brazilian foods, afternoons in squares, discovering corners of Madrid that he, a native of the city, had never noticed. Dinners where laughter flowed as easily as the wine. A week after she came into their lives, Isla casually mentioned during dinner, "My flight is the day after tomorrow." Mia's fork fell noisily onto her plate. Nathaniel felt something cold settle in his chest. "You're leaving?" Mia's voice was small, fragile. "My tourist visa," Isla seemed to struggle with the words, "is only for 2 weeks." A heavy silence fell over the table. Mia stared at her plate, her shoulders tense. Nathaniel recognized that posture. It was the same one she adopted when she was trying not to cry. But Mia looked up, her eyes bright. You can't leave. I haven't shown you my school yet. And we still need to go to the amusement park and… My love… Isla went around the table to hug her. Sometimes we have to leave, even when we don't want to. It's not fair. Mia broke free from the hug and ran to her room. The slammed door echoed in the penthouse. Nathaniel and Isla were left staring at each other over the remains of dinner. I'm sorry, she finally said. I should have mentioned it sooner. No, I should have asked. He had just assumed. What had he assumed exactly? That she would stay forever? That 2 weeks could stretch indefinitely? I'll go talk to her. Isla stood up, but Nathaniel stopped her gently. Let me. I need to do this. He found Mia curled up in her bed, hugging the stuffed unicorn Eleanor had given her for her last birthday. She wasn't crying, but her little face showed that fierce determination to hold back tears. Can I sit down? Nathaniel asked. Mia nodded without looking at him. Nathaniel sat on the edge of the bed, searching for the right words. I know it's hard, he began, when someone special leaves. Like Mommy, Mia interrupted. No, my love, not like Mommy. Mommy didn't choose to leave. Isla has to go back to her country, to her life. But that doesn't mean she disappears from ours. How do you know? Mia looked at him at last, defiant. People always say they're going to write, that they'll call, and then they forget. Nathaniel thought of all the broken promises of his own childhood, of friends who swore they'd stay in touch and then vanished, of relationships that faded with distance. I don't know, he admitted, but I do know that what Isla gave us these past few days is real, and that doesn't go away even if she has to travel. What did she give us? Nathaniel looked at his daughter, this little philosopher in a child's disguise. She gave us back our music. Do you remember what we were like before we met her? Mia looked down. Sad. And now we're not sad anymore. That's what she gave us, and we can keep it even when she's not here. But it's easier when she is. The simple truth hit him. Yes, everything was easier with Isla. The colors were brighter, the laughter more frequent. Life was more alive. Then maybe, he said slowly, we should make sure she has reasons to come back. Mia's eyes lit up. How? Come, I have an idea. They returned to the dining room where Isla was still sitting, looking lost and sad. Her face brightened when she saw them. Mia, I'm so sorry. We have a business proposal, Nathaniel interrupted, winking at his daughter. A business proposal? Isla looked at them, confused. Mia took over, suddenly serious. Daddy is very good at business. He makes deals. Deals, Nathaniel corrected Saya. Bueno, that. And we want to make a deal with you. Isla watched them with a mix of curiosity and tenderness. I'm listening. Nathaniel took a deep breath. It was now or never. I know you have to go back to Brazil, but Madrid needs dance teachers, especially teachers who know how to make sad little girls laugh. Isla, listen, could you open a school? Teach samba, bossa nova, whatever you want. We could help you with the paperwork, the location, whatever you need. A work visa takes time, requirements. I'm Nathaniel Stone, he said, with a confidence he hadn't used in weeks. I have connections. I can make it happen, if you want to. Mia added, and you could live here. We have lots of rooms. And you like my daddy. Mia. Nathaniel felt the heat in his cheeks. What? It's true, and he likes you. They looked at each other with silly smiles on their faces. Isla laughed. That sound Nathaniel had come to adore. Silly faces, like in the movies, Mia explained seriously. Before they kiss. The silence that followed could have been cut with a knife. Nathaniel and Isla looked at each other, and there was so much unspoken between them that the air seemed to vibrate. It's a generous offer, Isla said finally, but I can't accept charity. It's not charity, Nathaniel protested. It's selfishness. Pure selfishness. We don't want you to leave. Please, Mia added. Say you'll at least think about it. Isla looked at them. These two people who had entered her life as unexpectedly as she had entered theirs. I'll think about it. I promise. That night, after putting Mia to bed, who insisted on an extra long hug, Nathaniel found Isla on the terrace, looking at the lights of Madrid. A penny for your thoughts, he said, using a phrase Eleanor used to use. How much is a penny in Brazilian thoughts worth? She joked, but there was something melancholic in her voice. They were silent for a moment, side by side, not touching, but intensely aware of each other's closeness. Why are you doing this? She finally asked. You barely know me. Nathaniel considered the question. Why? How to explain that in 1 week she had done more to heal his family than months of therapy? How to say that the thought of returning to his gray and black life was unbearable? When Eleanor died, he began slowly, I thought happiness had died with her, that Mia and I were doomed to exist in shades of gray. And then you appeared, barefoot in my square, and you gave us back our colors. Nathaniel, I'm not asking, I'm not expecting, he said, frustrated with the words. I just know that you are important, to Mia, to me, and if there's a possibility that you'll stay, I have to try. Isla turned to him, and in the moonlight, her face was ethereal. In Brazil, I have a life, a small apartment, friends, favorite places, but none of them make me feel the way I feel here, with you. She took a step closer. It's terrifying, you know, to feel so much for people I met a week ago. I know. Nathaniel closed the distance between them. Believe me, I know. They looked at each other, inches apart. Nathaniel could feel the warmth of her body, smell her perfume mixed with kitchen spices. His whole being screamed to kiss her. But I don't want you to feel pressured, he whispered. If you need to go back, shh. Isla put a finger to his lips. Too many words. And then she kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, as if asking for permission. Nathaniel responded by deepening the kiss, his hands finding her waist while Isla's tangled in his hair. It was fire and tenderness, promise and question, all mixed in a moment that felt both eternal and too brief. When they finally separated, both were breathing heavily. That complicates things, Isla said. But she was smiling, or it simplifies them, Nathaniel replied. Stay. Please. Give us a chance. A chance for what? To see where this leads. To build something beautiful. To live again. Isla studied him for a long time. I would need to go back to Brazil. Close things down, bring others back. Say goodbye properly. Nathaniel's heart skipped a beat. Is that a yes? It's a let's see. A month in Brazil to organize everything. Then I'll come back. If you still want me here. Always, Nathaniel promised, and he kissed her again. From her bedroom window, Mia watched them with a huge smile. Her plan had worked. Well, Daddy's plan that she had made better. A full circle. The morning of the flight came too soon. The airport was a hive of goodbyes and reunions, but for Nathaniel, there were only the three of them at the boarding gate. 1 month, Mia repeated for the 100th time. Just 1 month and you'll be back. Just 1 month, Isla confirmed, hugging her tightly. And we'll video chat every day. Promise? I promise, a Brazilian's word. When it was Nathaniel's turn, the hug lasted longer. He whispered in her ear, if you change your mind. I won't change my mind, she interrupted him. You, Mia, are the most real thing I've found in a long time. The call for her flight separated them. With a final stolen kiss and a caress on Mia's cheek, Isla walked through the boarding gate. Nathaniel and Mia stood watching until she disappeared from view. So now what? Mia asked. Now, Nathaniel took her hand. We wait. And in the meantime, we keep dancing. The month passed in a blur of daily video calls, constant messages, and preparations. Nathaniel indeed used his connections to expedite the paperwork. He found a perfect location for Isla's dance school in the Malasaña neighborhood. Mia prepared her room, insisting that even though Isla would have her own apartment at first, she needed a space in their house. And then, one June afternoon, the phone rang. "Can you pick me up at the airport?" Isla's voice filled the penthouse. "I just landed." The reunion was everything the movies promised, and more. Mia ran through the airport. Nathaniel didn't have the heart to stop her, and jumped into Isla's arms. Nathaniel arrived afterward, more contained, but no less emotional. "You came?" he said simply. "I came," she confirmed. "To stay, if you still want me." "Always," Nathaniel and Mia said in unison. 6 months later, the Ritmos del Sol dance school opened its doors. The inauguration was an event that blended the best of two worlds, the discreet elegance of Nathaniel's Madrid and the explosive joy of Isla's Brazil. Mia was the first official student, of course, but soon it was filled with children and adults looking for that special magic Isla radiated. Nathaniel was officially an investor in the business, but unofficially, he was the most dedicated student in the night classes. One night, after closing the school, the three of them were having dinner on the same terrace where a year earlier Isla had cooked feijoada for the first time. "Daddy," Mia said, with a mouthful of rice, "when are you going to marry Isla?" Nathaniel almost choked. Isla laughed. "Mia, those things are important," the girl completed. "Like dancing, like promises, like family." Nathaniel looked at Isla, who returned his gaze with those brown eyes he now knew so well. They had talked about this, of course, in late-night conversations, in morning whispers, in comfortable silences. "You're right," Nathaniel said. "They are important." He got up from his chair, and, to Isla's astonishment and Mia's complicit smile, he knelt down. "Isla Gonzalez, barefoot dancer, master of joy, savior of lost souls, will you do me the honor of marrying me?" The ring was simple, elegant, not the ostentatious diamond the old Nathaniel would have chosen, but something he had seen in an antique store and knew was perfect. "Yes!" Mia yelled before Isla could respond. "Say yes!" Isla was crying and laughing at the same time. "You're not giving me a choice," she joked. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The wedding was intimate, in the same hotel square where they met. Mia was the maid of honor and took her role very seriously. The vows were simple but profound. Nathaniel promised not only to love Isla, but to keep the music alive in their lives. Isla promised to be a mother to Mia and a companion to Nathaniel in all the dances life presented them. Eleanor was present in the only way she could be, in the shared stories, in Mia's strength, in Nathaniel's ability to love again. Not as a shadow, but as an integral part of who they were. The party lasted until dawn. There was samba and waltzes, laughter and tears, Brazilian and Spanish food. Martin, the faithful assistant, danced awkwardly but with enthusiasm. The Japanese investors, surprisingly, turned out to be excellent salsa dancers. When the guests finally left, the three of them remained in the square, barefoot despite Isla's wedding dress and Nathaniel's tuxedo. "So now what?" Mia asked. Exhausted but happy. "Now," Nathaniel said, looking at his wife and his daughter, "we keep dancing. Forever," Isla added. "Forever," Mia confirmed with a yawn. And as the first lights of dawn painted the sky of Madrid, the small family, complete in a way none of them had imagined possible, walked back to the penthouse. Home. 5 years later, Nathaniel looked from the same window of his office. But this time, he was not looking with melancholy, but with anticipation. In the square, Isla was leading an outdoor class. Mia, now 12, was helping with the younger children. And in Isla's arms, little Carlos, 2 years old, was trying his first dance steps. His son. His second miracle. When Isla told him she was pregnant, Nathaniel feared it would be too much. That Mia would feel displaced, that the delicate balance they had built would break. But Mia had received the news with the wisdom that characterized her. Now I have someone to teach to dance. The phone rang. Tokyo again, probably. Nathaniel looked at it, then looked at his family in the square. The decision was easy. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the elevator. Some contracts could wait. The music of his life was calling him. And Nathaniel Stone, the man who learned to dance again, went down to join his family. Because in the end, that was all that mattered. Not the millions, not the hotels, not the empire. Just the dance, just the love, just life in all its imperfect and beautiful glory. The sun was shining over Madrid, and in a square where everything began, a family was dancing. Not because it was easy, not because the pain had completely disappeared, but because they had learned the most important lesson of all, that life is a song that deserves to be danced to the end, that love can be born in the most unexpected places, that sometimes the endings are just new beginnings in disguise, and that always, it's worth taking off your shoes and dancing.